Welcome to the deep dive. You've shared some really fascinating material with us, and today we're focusing on a particularly pivotal section, Chapter 13.
Yes. Chapter 13 illuminated through, well, some key perspectives. Swami Dayananda, Swami Viditatmananda, and Sri Sankar's commentaries.
Exactly. And it's pivotal because...
Well, it really gets to the heart of understanding who we are, the nature of reality itself. It's one of those chapters that can genuinely shift your perspective.
Absolutely. So to navigate this crucial chapter, we thought we'd explore three main interconnected areas that these sources really emphasize.
Sound good. A roadmap.
Right. First up, Mahavakya Vichara, this profound analysis that reveals the fundamental connection, the oneness between our individual self, the jiva...
And the ultimate reality is war.
Yes.
Then after that, following that, we'll definitely need to look at the essential preparatory disciplines. These are the practices, the groundwork, really, for realizing this self-knowledge.
Things like discrimination, dispassion...
Devotion, all those crucial qualities.
Yeah.
Viveka, vairagya, bhakti.
Got it.
So,
And finally,
we'll examine the benefit of inquiry itself, the vichara. Understanding the transformative power, the actual outcome of this whole process of self-investigation.
okay, so let's dive in. We're aiming for some real aha moments, hopefully some clarity without getting too bogged down.
Exactly. Let's start with Mahavakya Vichara. Where do we begin to unpack that?
Good question. What's the core idea?
At its core, it's really a systematic way of looking at these great pronouncements, the Mahavakyas.
Found in the scriptures.
Yes, powerful statements that point directly, almost like a finger pointing, to the essential oneness, the identity between the individual self that's, your subjective experience, my subjective experience.
And the divine, the ultimate
Totally.
reality behind everything.
Precisely.
So within this analysis, how are the jiva, the individual, and Iswara, the Lord, actually understood? How do they relate?
Well, the jiva, like we said, is the individual experiencer, what we usually call E. And Iswara is the Lord, the totality, the ground of being. Now, the key insight, especially drawing from, say, Swami Dayananda's work, is this. Despite how separate we might feel.
Which is pretty strongly most of the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But their essential nature, the svarupa, their fundamental being, is actually the same, non-different.
Wow. Okay, that's a big concept. How does that even work? Feeling so limited, but being, well, limitless.
It is a leap. Swami Dayananda uses a really helpful analogy here. Think about space.
Okay.
You have the space inside, say, a pot, and then you have the vast space outside the pot.
Right.
The pot seems to define and limit that space inside, makes it look separate. But is the space in the pot fundamentally different from the space outside?
No. It's all just space.
Exactly. It's all the same continuous space.
Yeah.
The pot's just a temporary boundary, an apparent limitation.
Okay. So our body and mind are like the pot.
In this analogy, yes.
Yeah.
They create the illusion of separation.
Yeah.
But our essential nature, our consciousness, isn't ultimately divided from the divine, from that total space.
That space analogy really helps visualize it. Okay, so building on that non-duality, how do figures like Sri Sankara articulate this?
Sri Sankara, particularly as explained through commentators like Swami Paramarthananda, is very direct. He states that Aham, the I, the real I, in its deepest sense, is Param Brahma, the supreme Brahman.
Also called Vasudeva.
Yes, known as Vasudeva. And this isn't just some abstract philosophy. It's pointing directly to the inherent divinity within you, within each of us.
Wow.
And Sankara goes further. He emphasizes that this very Brahman is the source, the origin, the sustainer, and even the eventual dissolution point for the entire universe.
Everything. Creation, sustenance, dissolution.
And even our experiences, the results of our actions, it all originates from and dissolves back into this one Brahman.
So everything we perceive, everything we experience is basically a manifestation of this one underlying reality.
Precisely. It ties right into the idea that the Lord pervades the entire creation.
Like the cloth and cotton analogy.
Exactly like that. The cloth is cotton. Cotton is its substance, its material cause. The Lord is the fundamental reality pervading everything that exists.
Okay, then what about birth and death? That feels like a pretty significant difference between us, finite beings, and this eternal, all-pervading Lord.
That's a really crucial question, and the teachings clarify this. Our cycle of birth and death, well, that's driven by karma.
The results of past actions, desires.
Exactly, stemming from ignorance, ultimately. But the Lord's birth, like Krishna describes his own appearances, isn't like ours. He's inherently birthless, deathless. He isn't bound by karma in the same way.
So his appearance is more like a choice, not driven by past actions.
Yes, out of his own will, his own power, not compelled.
Okay, so if this underlying reality is the Lord and we are essentially one with it, why the intense feeling of separation? Why do we feel so limited?
That's where the concept of Maya comes in.
The cosmic illusion.
You could call it that. It's often described as the power of the Lord, the power that projects this universe, creating the appearance of multiplicity, of separateness, like a cosmic magic trick, in a way.
Making us see divisions where there aren't any, fundamentally.
Exactly. But, and this is vital, even with this projection, the Lord remains the underlying substantive reality. The perception of difference arises purely from ignorance.
Ajnana.
Ajnana, yes. The core misunderstanding of who we really are. It's not just not knowing facts, it's a fundamental misidentification.
And Swami Vidya also talks about this feeling of limitation, right, from a slightly different angle.
He does. He emphasizes that everything, absolutely everything, gets its value from the self, from consciousness. Awareness is what makes anything meaningful to us.
Okay.
But he points out there's often this deep-seated complex within us, born from that ignorance, that leads to this pervasive feeling of insufficiency, like something's missing.
That feeling of inadequacy.
Precisely. And that feeling fuels our desires, our seeking outside ourselves, which just reinforces the sense of separation.
Okay, so we have this incredible mind-bending understanding of our fundamental oneness. But like you said, it's not just intellectual.
Not at all. Knowing it intellectually is just the first step. Maybe not even the first step, but an early one.
So how do we actually prepare ourselves to experience this, to live it? This must be where the preparatory disciplines come in.
Exactly right. Understanding intellectually is one thing. Internalizing it, making it our lived reality, requires specific inner work. And the first one, arguably the foundation, is viveka, discrimination.
Discrimination between what and what in this context?
It's the crucial ability to discern, clearly, between what is real, meaning permanent, unchanging, the sat.
And the unreal.
And the unreal, the asat, which is everything impermanent, constantly changing. So applying this, it means differentiating the true self, the Atma.
From the non-self.
Right.
The body, the mind, the ego.
All those things that change, that come and go. Viveka is about learning to identify with what's truly enduring within us, not just the fleeting stuff.
So shifting our identification away from the temporary.
Exactly. And closely related, almost inseparable from viveka, is vairagya, dispassion.
Dispassion. That sounds a bit cold, maybe. What does it really mean here?
It's not coldness, more like freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom from excessive attachment. Attachment to worldly pleasures, yes, but also attachment to the results of our actions.
Ah, okay. So not being overly invested in success or failure.
Right. Because those desires and attachments, they bind us. They make us dependent. They obscure our true, inherently free nature. Think about it, unfulfilled desires often lead to anger, frustration.
Definitely.
And even fulfilled desires, often they just lead to more desires. It's a cycle.
The new gadget example. Exciting at first, then it fades, and you want the next thing.
Precisely. Vairagya is about recognizing that cycle, the impermanent nature of that kind of satisfaction, and looking for contentment that's deeper, more stable, more internal.
So getting off that emotional roller coaster of chasing external things.
Well put. It's recognizing that lasting fulfillment doesn't come from external objects or achievements, which leads us naturally to bhakti, devotion.
Okay, how does intense love and dedication towards the Lord fit into preparing for self-knowledge, which sounds almost analytical with viveka?
It's a beautiful integration, actually. Bhakti is that intense love and dedication, but it's not just rituals or external shows, though those can be part of it.
It's deeper.
Much deeper. It includes performing our actions, our duties, as an offering to the Lord. That's karma yoga.
It's dedicating your work.
Yes. And it also includes the pursuit of understanding through study, reflection, that's jnana yoga, the path of knowledge. Bhakti infuses both. That intense love becomes the driving force and the context for both action and understanding.
So it can start small, like part-time devotion.
Exactly. It might start focused on specific times or activities, but the idea is for it to gradually grow, to become full-time, permeating everything you do, every thought, every interaction.
And offering the results of actions, that seems key in bhakti too.
Absolutely key. Offering the outcomes to the Lord without clinging to success or getting dejected by failure. It purifies the mind, reduces the ego's grip, fosters objectivity.
Okay, so viveka, vairagya, bhakti, the big three. Are there other qualities mentioned that help prepare us?
Oh yes, definitely. The sources mentioned a whole constellation of supporting qualities. Humility, Madam, freedom from pride, seeing accomplishments as gifts, not just mine.
That's a big one.
Huge.
Yeah.
Then nonviolence. So not just physical, but in thought and speech too. Rooted in understanding, acceptance.
Pretty straightforwardness.
Arjavam. Alignment between thought, word, and deed. Being genuine. Also forbearance, shanti, forgiveness. Self-control, Atma vinigraha. Absence of ego, anahamkara.
And equanimity.
Samatvam. Maintaining balance in pleasure and pain, success and failure. Not being tossed around by circumstance.
Wow, it really is a comprehensive inner transformation that's being pointed to.
It truly is. It's fundamentally about managing our own minds and impulses, rather than being managed by them. Cultivating that inner strength and wisdom.
So with this groundwork hopefully laid through these disciplines, we then engage in vichara, the inquiry itself. How does that lead to the actual realization?
Vichara is that focused, sustained inquiry into the meaning of the Mahavakyas, into the nature of reality, using the understanding gained from the teachings. And it's hugely supported by those disciplines we just discussed.
They make the inquiry possible or more effective.
Much more effective. Through consistent practice, shravana, which is dedicated listening to the teachings, manana, deep reflection on their meaning, and nididhyasana, contemplative meditation to really assimilate the truth.
Listening, reflecting, meditating.
Yes. Through that consistent process, you gradually dismantle the layers of ignorance, that ajnana. You start to see through the illusion of separation.
And it requires repetition. You can't just hear it once.
Absolutely not. It needs repeated exposure, repeated contemplation for these profound truths to really sink in, to become not just known, but realized, an integrated part of your being.
And the ultimate benefit, what happens when that realization dawns?
The central, most profound benefit is that direct realization, that immediate experience of the oneness of Jiva and Iswara, experiencing your non-separation from the divine.
And what does that do?
Upon that realization, the limitations of the ego, that false sense of being just this separate person, are transcended. It dissolves in a sense. And this frees you from the cycle of birth and death, the karmic cycle driven by ignorance.
So you become Brahman.
As one text puts it, when you truly understand that the whole manifold world resides within the self and comes from the self, you realize yourself as Brahman, the supreme being.
That sounds like ultimate freedom, liberation.
It is. It's moksha, a state of complete freedom. Freedom from limiting desires, from dependencies, from the fundamental suffering tied to the egoic perspective.
Freedom from inadequacy.
Yes, that's a key point from the teachings. You attain a nature similar to the Lord, free, complete. The nagging feeling of inadequacy vanishes because you directly recognize your true nature is adequacy, fullness, completeness itself.
Wow. So the self-knowledge really is presented as the highest wisdom, the ultimate goal.
Throughout the Gita, yes, it's the pinnacle of spiritual life.
This has been incredibly insightful, really diving into Chapter 13 through these perspectives. Swami Dayananda, Swami Vidyatmananda, Sri Sankara clarifies so much.
It brings together the core message.
Yeah.
The oneness, the necessary preparation, and the transformative power of inquiry.
Absolutely. We've looked at that profound truth of essential oneness, the vital steps to prepare ourselves for realizing it, and how that consistent self-inquiry, vichara, actually works.
Indeed. And it really leaves us, and leaves you, the listener, with a significant question to ponder, doesn't it?
Which is?
If your essential nature and the nature of the Lord, of ultimate reality, is truly the same, what does that mean for you practically? What fundamental shift in perspective does that understanding invite in your everyday life?
How might it change how you see yourself, how you interact with others, how you face challenges?
Exactly. How does it shift your understanding of your own experiences, your sense of purpose? It's something worth sitting with.
A really powerful thought to carry forward from this deep dive. We definitely encourage you, our listener, to continue contemplating these profound teachings and see how they might resonate or apply in your own journey.
Keep exploring.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to our next deep dive together.